G'day guys, I decided to make a video today because I wanted to shout out to all my friends and family and also anybody else that's willing to watch this video. I wanted to talk to you today about there seems to be a lot of confusion on the internet at the moment in relation to why people were marching today. So I actually went to the Brisbane March today. I think we might have broken a record. There was thousands of people there. I have been going the last few years because I find it a great opportunity to learn. I'm a white Australian. I want to understand why people want to march today in particular, and I want to understand the Indigenous people of my country more so. So this is something that's really important to me. I think there's a lot of unfinished business. I don't know, what that business might be, and I guess I'm trying to work out what it is and who best to learn from but the Indigenous people, the activists that are out there fighting for change. So yeah, I took this opportunity today, and it was a fantastic day, typical Australia day in Brisbane. Hot, sweaty. I had a lot of water and sunscreen with me, and yeah, really inspiring, and I learnt a lot, which I always want to obviously take away from days like today. So what did I learn? I learnt that what we're seeing on the TV, the narrative that we're seeing on TV is completely false. So we're spoon-fed this idea about Australia Day, and it's a day for everyone apparently, and the Indigenous people shouldn't have a problem with that at all. Why should they have a problem with it? So after seeing some of the opinions, and some of these opinions have been going on for longer than I've been alive anyway, but I'm seeing the same ones, and people just have no understanding. There's so much ignorance out there. So, look, speaking as an ignorant white guy who's trying to learn more, I thought I'd pass on a little bit of the stuff that I'm starting to learn. I'm picking up all this knowledge, So, it's, I guess, celebrating Australia and being Australian on this day. The day that Captain Arthur Phillip planted that Union Jack in the sand and started the whole colonisation of this country. And I don't need to go through all the horrible, stuff that went on. The British bloody Empire, and they didn't even identify the first Australians as human beings. So I get why I don't want to celebrate on this day. And why a lot of people, and in growing numbers, more and more people don't want to celebrate being Australian and Australia on this day. It's a movement that's growing every day. So every year, and look, I just see, it's inevitable that we won't be doing this on the 26th of January in the future. It's just a matter of time. So what's the alternative? And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. What's the alternative to celebrating Australia Day on the 26th of January, which was only, nationally recognised, public holiday and all that stuff in '94, So, we've got a lot of things wrong in this country in terms of, celebrating who we are and who we identify with and all that sort of thing. I'm an English-born Australian. I came here when I was 2 years old. I don't identify with the invaders at all. I acknowledge and recognise colonisation and what was done, but I don't identify with those people. I'd much rather identify with the first Australians. That's why the 26th of January just, anything related to the British bloody Empire, yeah, yeah, so the more I learn, the more I don't want to identify with that. I never really did anyway. And now, I'm identifying more and more with my Indigenous brothers and sisters, and it's so rewarding, I mean, their culture is the heart and soul of this country, So I'm getting so much back, and I want to give more, and I guess that's what's pushed me to hopefully, spark more conversation from people who watch this video. I might be wrong, because like I said, I'm still ignorant, I'm still learning, but hopefully some of what I say, will spark some discussion around Australia, because the narrative that we're seeing on the television is just bullshit, This is not a day for everyone, and people are angry and saddened for very good fucking reasons, So what's the alternative, Another thing I've learned today and in the last few years is why there's an anger there, and why all of these little token things that our governments have done for the Indigenous people, these interventions and all this sort of stuff. Why that just seems like window dressing. I get it, I honestly, I'm starting to get it, because without a treaty, none of this stuff really can create much change at all, and I think that just adds to the resentment that a lot of particularly white Australians have about, bloody reconciliation, and when's that going to be over with? Haven't we thrown enough money? It's not about money, I heard somebody suggest, $1 million per Indigenous person in our country, and that'll fix the problem, But that's like making out like Indigenous people are the problem. The problem is the system that we continue to sacrifice all that we could be for, The system of racism in this country, all these elements that are joined to this system that doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a treaty with the first Australians, So all of this stuff fails, I'm not saying that it hasn't done some good, but it would do a hell of a lot better if we went back and reset our country with a treaty. What should have happened 230 years ago, That's why Australia continues to trip over itself, That's why we have this division, in our country, We need to educate ourselves past what we're seeing on the television, because that narrative is bullshit, The true narrative of our country needs to be written properly, and it needs to be taught to every single Australian, I've only learnt this through my own, investigations and wanting to be around Indigenous people and connect with them and just get it, I feel closer to my country for that reason, It's so much better than draping myself in the Union Jack, Anyway, we had some of those guys turn up today, and man, just the disrespect that these guys, they're clinging on to this white privilege and this hollow identity, of being, the British Empire's bitches, they've got to identify with that. And it's this continuation of this low sense of self, this insecurity, this inbuilt insecurity that this patriot culture carry around with them. And they could be so much more, than that. If they step outside of that narrative and that identity, and really connect with other Australians, the 300 other bloody ancestries that exist in this country, 200 odd cultures or whatever, they could be so much happier themselves, and so much more use to this country, At the moment, they're eroding our country, and the progressive movement just keeps trying to build and build and build, and these parasites, these sad, people with their limited consciousness of what it is to be Australian just keep trying to erode it, But, if they were educated and if they learned, if they connected, they could be all that they could be, and Australia could be all that they could be, So it's not about changing the date, I was thinking, well, maybe we change the date, maybe that will be another stepping stone that we can take. The loud message that I got from today was abolish the date. There is no national celebration without the respect to our Indigenous Australians, the first Australians. If we're going to celebrate, how lucky we are to call this place home and celebrate everything it is to be Australian, we can't leave them out. We can't leave, the oldest living culture in the world out, And you may say, oh no, we're not doing that. And that's the narrative on the TV too. But we are. Without a treaty, without the proper respect to the first Australians, that's exactly what we're doing. So, I wish I knew this stuff, 20 years ago, but I didn't, And I hope this sparks discussion, because it needs to happen in Australia. I know the movement's spreading, it's growing every day, but we need to fast forward this more, because people are dying. Our Indigenous people need this to happen now, and it's just not happening. So another thing that I took out of today is about, it's not just about coming out on the 26th of January every year. It's about doing it all through the year, representing all through the year, speaking, connecting, informing, learning all through the year, This is a job that can't just be done on a token day every year. We need to do more, and it'll happen. Australia will become all that it can be, but it's going to take us to do it, because the government's not going to do it for us, okay? They'll do what we bloody tell them to do. If we get off our asses, connect and respect one another, and then they'll have to follow our lead. We are the people. This is our country. We employ them. That's our tax dollars that they're spending. That's our laws that they're setting in stone. So we as a people, we're more powerful than we're led to believe. So please connect with me. Please connect with Indigenous people. Please connect with everybody. If you're going to start with anybody, start with the first Australians, you want to call yourself Australian? Well, start connecting with the first ones, eh? Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Like I said, I may be wrong, but if there's any day that we're going to celebrate being Australian, in my opinion, and this may change, it's the day that we put the effort in and actually set a treaty in stone. If we're going to celebrate our National Day, it should be on that day. What better day would there be than the day that we sign a treaty with the first Australians? What? A day that respects the first Australians and incorporates all the other cultures, And I got that message loud and clear. This treaty is about everyone, It's not just about the Indigenous people of our country. Yes, it's a big part of that, but the treaty is going to serve all of us, all of Australians, all Australians. We're going to benefit from it. It's not just the Indigenous people. So start looking into it. Look up the definition of a treaty. Find out what it's all about, and then you'll start to understand. Yes, this is right. Because I had no idea myself, but I listened and I researched and I connected with people, and here I am. So I can only encourage you guys to do the same. I hope you got something out of that, and cheers.